Okay, I love Caroline Winkler, I really do. But recently in one of her videos, she got 2 new armchairs, not brand new, but new to her. And she said something along the lines of,
"Guess how much I got these armchairs for? You're not gonna believe it. They were $200 each. That's literally such a good deal."
I'm so sorry about that impression, Caroline. But, sure, in the world of buying brand new furniture or high quality antiques, that could very well be a good price depending on what you're looking for, what the condition is, how authentic it is, stuff like that. And also we do need to take into context the fact that she lives in Washington, DC, which is a ridiculously expensive place to live. So her standards are a little bit skewed, but a lot of us average people aren't out here trying to spend $200 on a single chair, especially with the situation going on around everything in the US right now. Like, at the end of the day, we're all just trying to get home safe to our families and put a meal on the table. I promise this isn't meant to be a dig at Caroline, because I know she has done some either very low cost or no cost room makeovers on her channel, and everyone's relationship to money is slightly different and depends entirely on context. I am genuinely happy that from what I've seen on social media, it seems like she's never had to worry about where her next meal will come from or how to pay rent at the end of the month, because no one should ever have to experience that. But since a lot of us are experiencing some version of that, this video is going to be much less designer nerds out about pretty things, and much more how to make your space feel like a home for literally $0, because everyone deserves to live in a home that, at the very least, doesn't make you more stressed out, if not ideally living in a home that helps you regulate your nervous system. Because it really is starting to feel more and more like a Black Mirror episode every single fucking day. So whatever we can do to like help ourselves cope with that, I'm down for. If you're new here, my name is Medora, and I make videos about actually realistic home design for the average person. If you're not new here, sorry about disappearing for a few months there. Life happens, you know? All good things, it was just a lot all at once, and now I am ready to get back into the swing of things. So without further ado, let's get into my top interior design rules for when you literally do not have a single penny to spend. I've got 12 on this list, but there will be a little bonus section at the end, so make sure to stick around for that. The first one is to shop the rest of your home for decor. You probably already have a lamp or a piece of art or something like that that you could move from one space to another space, because sometimes all we really need is a little switch up here and there. The key to this though, actually, you know what? I'm gonna make this its own point because I think it's that important. So number 2 is to think about things as materials rather than objects. So what do I mean by that? Let's say, for example, I've got this old metal Ritz container that I use as my sewing kit. Now, it is just metal at the end of the day. So I could use this, if I didn't like the outside of it, for some sort of DIY. I could also use some old clothes or some old curtains to reupholster something, maybe to cover a frame in a neat pattern, make a little window valance, stuff like that. Number 3 is kind of similar, but see if you can get really creative and make some decor out of trash or recycling or whatever random shit you've got laying around. One time, about a decade ago now, I was living and working at a retreat center. And so when we ordered new sheets for all of the guest beds, I asked to have all of those bags that sheets come in, because otherwise we were just going to throw them away. So I took those, and then I took a large embroidery hoop, tied all of those bags so they were just like hanging in a circle. And this was before I knew that boob light covers existed, and possibly even before they did exist. And then I just like put a couple hooks in the ceiling and covered a boob light with it. Again, get creative. I'm aware that was a very specific scenario that most people won't have, but literally just open your trash can, look in your recycling. And if you don't have much going on in there, if you live in an apartment complex that has communal dumpsters, go look in there. Sometimes there is some random stuff that people are getting rid of, and you never know what's there until you look. Okay, I just added another point because I thought of it. And this one's probably much more obvious, but look on Craigslist or Marketplace for free stuff, or especially join your local Buy Nothing group. You'd be surprised at what people will give away for free. I saw a sit-stand desk go for free on my local Buy Nothing group the other day. So this is one of those things where as long as you're checking these places regularly and keeping your eye out, you will find something. Sometimes just adding in one new thing to your space can really help you rethink everything else that's currently in your space. And kind of as a tangent to this, if you have a dog or if you just like going on walks, especially if you live in a neighborhood where there's people who just like set free stuff outside during the summer, definitely take advantage of that, because I have found lampshades, I have found my favorite pair of boots, I found my favorite sweater that way, I found a 1926 treadle Singer sewing machine. So as long as you're showing up in these spaces, you will be rewarded for your work. Number 5 is probably one of the most obvious ones, but sometimes we overlook it or we convince ourselves that it's too much work. But number 5 is to rearrange furniture, because that can literally do so much. In this room, not that you can clearly see too much of what's behind me, but this bed used to be right here where this window is in front of me. And I added a desk over here when there used to be a desk over there. And we put that desk in a different room, and there's just
so much space to walk around.
so. Do your best to brainstorm every single possible furniture layout because sometimes it might not work, but sometimes it really works. Number 6 is to deep clean those really gross spots that you always remember at the most inconvenient of times when you're like, I don't have time to clean this right now, but I am going to forget it. The 2 possible most effective ways I can think of to kind of go about this is to actually just clean it whenever you think about it, because that way you're not like touching the same task twice, or 3 times, or 4 times, or 5 times, however many times you remember it until you actually clean it. Or keep a list like on your phone whenever you think about something but you don't have time or energy to clean it, and then pick one afternoon and just clean all of those things. So for me, I am horrible at dusting. So tops of curtain rods, ceiling fans, the back of the toilet tank, stuff like that. It's just one of those little things that if it's constantly dirty and then all of a sudden you see it and it's clean, your brain's gonna do a little happy dance and be like, ooh, oh, this is nice. So deep clean all of those gross little things that you never remember. Number 7 is a big one, but it genuinely makes such a huge difference, and that is to declutter and organize. There are so many other videos you can watch about decluttering and organizing, but my general rule of thumb for decluttering is to ask if its presence stresses you out more than it brings joy into your life. And for organizing, don't put things where you think they should go, but instead put them where you think you would first look for them if you couldn't remember exactly where something was. And then another rule of thumb is probably that you should avoid social media about decluttering and organizing as much as possible, and instead just focus on your home and your space and how you want to do things. While I do love all of the aesthetic, putting things in very neat rows and the little plastic boxes and stuff like that, that's not actually helpful in my space. What's helpful in my space is having a friend sit down on the bed and be like, do this, do that. And you just gotta get it done. There's kind of no way around it. Number 8, if you're crafty and you have supplies lying around, or even and especially if you're not crafty, DIY something. I don't care if you don't think you're a creative person, the act of being alive is creative enough. And I'm not talking about these DIY challenges that we see on YouTube where people, for example, try to make some really high-end designer thing for a third of the price or whatever, and then they go out and buy all sorts of brand new materials to use to DIY the thing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about use some scrap fabric and sew one of these little cord cover things. Super simple, super easy, anyone can do it. All you need is a needle and thread and some random fabric. Even if you don't think you have the time and energy for it, this is one of those things that might actually give you more energy than it takes. Because there's just something about making things with your hands that feels so much more rewarding than working on a computer. Number 9 is one of those things that, again, you'll kind of have to be the judge of if this actually gives you more energy than it takes. But number 9 is to iron or steam your bedding, your curtains, your table linens, your shower curtains, your pillowcases, any fabric you have, iron it. This is just one of those little things that will help your space feel so much more put together, and it's almost intangible once it's done, but when you walk into a space that has love put into all of the little corners of the room like this, it will feel so good. If you need some more convincing, I would recommend checking out Rajiv Surendra's channel, because he is very good at getting you to care about showing up for yourself and your space in a way that's rooted in love rather than obligation. Now, that's not to say that I will ever iron or steam my bedding or my table linens or anything like that. Curtains maybe. Shower curtains definitely. But yeah, I'm not trying to steam the sheets every single time we wash them. And that's just a me thing, and you gotta figure out where that line is for you. You don't have to do everything on this list. This is just a list of possible ideas. So take what you want and leave the rest. If it isn't freezing out where you are, number 10 is to open windows. There's just something about stagnant air that is so off-putting to me. So whenever you can open a few windows, get some good cross ventilation going, get some fresh air in there, that is ideal. Obviously, I won't be opening my windows in our Minnesota winters, but for those of you who have a milder climate this time of year, definitely open windows. Obviously, this gets a little bit more complicated, especially if you have respiratory issues and you live somewhere where the air quality is either consistently not good, or you have, say for example, wildfire smoke coming down from Canada, like I do. But in general, it's a good concept. Number 11 is pretty similar in concept, and that's to do anything that makes sense for you to boost the mood. So whether that's playing music, lighting candles, lighting incense, hanging up little sun catchers in your windows, stuff like that. I don't think I have to explain anything about why this is a good idea, but it will make your home feel more like a home. Number 12 is to host a furniture and decor swap, whether it's for your family, your friends, your neighbors, your local community, and bonus points if you turn it into a potluck and exchange phone numbers and maybe even put together a little spreadsheet of things that you all have that you're willing to do or share to build community. Like maybe one person has a bunch of tools that they aren't using constantly that other people can kind of loan out as needed. Or maybe someone needs rides to the airport, or maybe someone needs babysitting, or maybe someone could use the extra food that's sitting in the back of your pantry. I would say start small, start with decor, and then build up from there. Number 13 is, again, pretty self-explanatory, but basically to just keep things clean. Wash your bedding, vacuum, shake any rugs out, make sure to dust anything that has a vertical surface on it, stuff like that. And speaking of surfaces, make sure to keep your surfaces clear. One of the main functions that I personally really love about random decor that you don't technically need, but like it's pretty and you want it, is to keep your surfaces perfectly styled so that things don't accumulate on there. Because, right now, my desk is not styled at all, and that's pretty obvious. I probably shouldn't show you my desk, but also, let's just do a quick... Yeah, it's bad. And that's because I don't have spaces to put things, I haven't organized things, I have some things I need to declutter, and I haven't styled it, so I don't have as much incentive in whatever weird way my brain works to keep it perfectly clean. Now, this is the last one on the list, but remember there is a bonus section, so stick around for that. Last but not least is number 14. Rethink anything that feels stale or static. How could you switch it up? I promise you there's a way to switch something up. Now, depending on all the different factors that go into all of your decision making, maybe you end up deciding it's not worth it. But come up with at least 2 or 3 different ways that you could kind of switch things up, whether that's furniture arrangement or decor placement or something. One big reason I personally like home design, and I think a lot of other people do, is because I like the feeling of freshness and newness and novelty. So changing even just like one piece of art that you've had in this corner for a long time and putting it over here, it can genuinely make a big difference. Another big reason I like home design is because it helps me reclaim my agency and practice putting into words and advocating for myself what I like, what I don't like, how I want to change things, stuff like that. So if that's part of why you also like home design, just know that if you switch something up and you hate it, you can always put it back. That's totally fine. You're literally allowed to do whatever you want with your home, regardless of what I or anyone else on the internet says. Okay, for the bonus section. This section is about if you do have a little bit of money, this is where I would suggest you put it. I would recommend you spend it on the following 3 things, preferably in this order. The first one is extra warm, dim light bulbs, specifically for mood lighting, obviously. We don't want these in our task lighting, but for mood lighting, I personally really specifically love these string light replacement bulbs from Costco, which I know not everyone has access to a Costco, and also they aren't dimmable. So I would definitely do your research and figure out what your specific needs are, but for me, I don't necessarily need them to be dimmable. And anything that is about 2200 Kelvin and the equivalent of about 11 watts will be exactly the same as what I've got in that lamp right there. And I would say that looks relatively accurate on camera to how it looks in real life, I think. The second thing I would recommend you spend a little bit of money on, if you have it, is organization stuff. I know I had organization as its whole own separate category in the main part of the video, but that was more about the act of grouping like objects so that all of these types of things are together and all of these types of things are together. But this, I'm specifically saying, you might want to like go to the Dollar Tree and get some boxes so that things actually stay where you put them. You can totally use old cardboard boxes that you pull out of the recycling to organize things, but sometimes, especially if you're not used to having nice brand new things, sometimes every once in a while it is nice to just like go buy something new specifically for an intended purpose. The last thing that I would recommend you spend a little bit of money on, if you can, is paint. It totally depends on what paints are available to you, what brands are available, how much those brands cost. And if you're painting your whole entire apartment, yeah, that can get real expensive. But paint in general automatically has such a dramatic impact compared to the price that even if you can't paint your whole apartment, even if you can't paint your whole room, if you only have enough money and or energy for one wall, I would say paint the ceiling. And if that's still too much money and energy, I would say get one of those little $5 samples and paint a door frame. Now, it's going to have to be a relatively small door frame, and I would definitely recommend getting a 1-coat option so that you don't have to do like 3, 4, 5 coats, because those little samples will not be enough paint for many coats. It should be enough for 2 coats, plus maybe a couple touch-ups, if it's just a normal size door frame. And also, if you're in a rental, this will be much easier to paint over again, and you don't even necessarily have to worry about matching the color of the existing walls perfectly. As long as you get it really close, all of the different lighting on the different angles and the different surfaces will really help conceal the fact that it's like a slightly different color. I would definitely try to like chip a little piece of the existing paint off to see if they can color match that, but if not, just bring some samples home, hold it against your existing paint color, pick the best option. I genuinely should have scripted this in. I'm feeling kind of stupid for not having scripted this in, because this is kind of the perfect video to mention it. But my last tip, which does cost a little bit of money, but could make a huge difference, is to go join my Patreon. Because over there, we do live community calls every single month, no matter what your tier is. And actually, I post the link for those both on Patreon and also on YouTube memberships, whatever it's called. And that starts as low as $2 a month, whereas Patreon is $5. And everyone gets access to these community calls. I really wish I had mentioned that at the beginning of the video, but that is a thing. They're very small so far. It's only like 3 to 5 people at each one. So it's really just like hanging out with your design friends. And we've been doing a lot of sharing of our spaces, specifically sharing problem areas of our homes or like things that we need some help with, and we just need some help brainstorming. And it's been so much fun. And this way you not only get my input, but you also get the input from the community here of like-minded people. So I can't believe I didn't think of that earlier, and I'm glad I remembered it while I was still filming. But that is also a great thing, to spend a little bit of money and get a lot of help for the areas of your home that need it the most. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, make sure to do all of the YouTube-y things that tell the algorithm to show you more of my videos. And until the next video, make sure to watch out for your neighbors and drink some water. Bye. Test 1, test 2. Cool, freaking cool. All right, we are recording. We are recording. I'm so freaking tired.